stopped it. Where's the puck? It came loose on the other side. It's over.
Yeah. We should talk about that.
Broke the record, the all-time record for games played. This wasn't like, points scored on a Friday night in Denver. This was a big-time NHL record that a guy we grew up watching, Patrick Marleau, he was drafted the year I was born, 1997.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was drafted just a couple months after I was born. Made his NHL debut that year. I think he was a second overall pick. No, he was a first.
Was he?
Yeah, he was he was a second because he went right after Thornton in that draft.
Huh.
Yeah, like 41 years old and broke the record for games played. Beat Gordie Howe, who played into his 50s, which is not possible anymore. It's barely possible to play into your 40s.
Yeah.
Only a handful of people do it.
And we weren't saying that 10 years ago either. That's the crazy thing. A lot more guys were doing it 10 years ago.
Yep. A lot more guys. And now like guys like Chara, Thornton, and Marleau are looked at like just aliens. And even them, they're not that effective right now in the roles. Thornton is probably the most effective in his role right now.
Yeah.
Jágr was kind of like that. He was good until he was like 45. But he's still playing hockey, still playing over in the Czech Republic. I thought it was so cool to see Patrick Marleau break that record. Just a guy that ever since I started watching hockey, he was there. And when the year we started watching hockey, 2009, was the year he started his Ironman streak. He has not missed a game since we started watching hockey 12 years ago.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. He had an 11-year career and then started his Ironman streak. Like an 11-year career in the NHL is good, and then he started an Ironman.
I'm honestly surprised Babcock didn't ruin his Ironman streak.
Like he did Modano, or like he didn't let him play 1,500 games.
Yeah. Less bets to play opening night against his former team.
Babcock's such a tool. He is. Screw you, man. I saw that on Twitter that he broke the record. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And then I saw all the comments floating around. People were very upset.
Where did you say this was?
Twitter.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought you said.
Twitter, where nobody's ever upset ever about anything.
No, and very rational takes all the time.
Always. People were upset. I don't remember where it originated from, but I saw a lot of comments like people upset that Marleau was being compared to Gordie Howe, and bringing up like their end of career point totals, like, oh, Marleau has 8 points in 44 games this year. He's garbage. Like, he shouldn't really be in the league anymore. Why is he breaking Gordie Howe's record? Like Mr. Hockey. And I couldn't help but think, like, this has nothing to do with, like, nobody's saying Patrick Marleau has had a greater career than Gordie Howe. He's just played more games.
Right.
And if Gordie Howe didn't go play in the WHA for literally 6 years, Gordie Howe would have still had the record by a mile. So it's kind of Gordie Howe's fault he doesn't still have the record.
It's literally like the only way you have to look at it is that nobody on the planet has laced up his skates for an NHL game more than Patrick Marleau. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's where it should stop and end. But of course, I should delete my Twitter now because
I know what set it off. And I actually have the tweet in question.
Is it like Steve Simmons?
It is, in fact, Steve Simmons.
It is, I guess.
It is Steve Simmons.
Oh my.
Before I read you the tweet, I'm going to read you.
I can't wait for this garbage take.
Before I read you the tweet, I need to read you this. 121 likes, 430 retweets.
Oh no.
693 replies.
It's big time ratio.
Here's the tweet. Very poor grammar, by the way. It was really hard for me to follow. But anyways, Hart trophies 1, Gretzky 9, Howe 6, Shore 4, Ovi, Lemieux, or Clark, Morenz all have 3. Marleau once finished 9th in Hart voting.
That was a tweet?
That was a tweet.
So if you
why send it?
Right.
Why?
Like, it should have stopped in your head. And then it should have stopped in drafts. And then it should have stopped before you said send tweet. And he He bypassed all of those barriers. Let me share something. I want to have a heart to heart real fast with the people listening to this. If you are a hockey fan and you like Steve Simmons, I want you to never watch hockey ever again. Nobody wants your fandom. You are horrible because Steve Simmons is maybe the worst reporter I've seen in sports, period. He should not have a job.
What about
He works for a garbage publication, the Toronto Sun, and he's a garbage reporter. And that tweet is garbage. So he just cherry picked a stat and said, I don't get it. Here you go. Just to get a reaction. He's the most clickbait nonsense reporter that exists. That's all he lives for. He just wants to get a reaction out of everybody. And it works. He's just so scum.
Our boy Mark Lazarus actually replied to that. For those who don't know, Mark Lazarus has been Chicago Blackhawks beat writer for a while. He replied, and he got a lot of great response to this. He goes, but Steve, so what? Nobody's saying Patrick Marleau is a better hockey player than Gordie frickin' Howe, but he will have played more NHL games than Gordie frickin' Howe. It's an objective fact. Why try to diminish this accomplishment? Nobody thinks less of Howe because of it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Exactly what I was thinking.
But no, this is hockey Twitter. People just want to be mad about things. Bunch of snowflakes.
I'm sorry. I'm just going through the replies. This one guy has got a great one. He goes, Pulitzer Prize is won. And then he goes through a bunch of them. And he's got like, a bunch of names and, the numbers after them. And then at the end, he goes, Steve Simmons was once a runner up on at TSN Hockey Quiz. Yeah, and then he's quote tweeting responses to it and like defending himself. He actually replied to the Lazarus tweet. He goes, Mark, in my mind, Marleau was done 2 years ago. He's hung on through the help of the Sharks to get the record. I admire his career. I don't admire how he got to the end. And a lot of people under the age of 60 never saw Howe play. So I wanted to show the other side on this, which is, I think, just a dumb fucking tweet, like, because of the response he got. But, no, I mean, and you know what's weird is, like, I wouldn't agree with it, but it would make a little bit more sense if Marleau just, like, wasn't a likable player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, when have we ever heard anything bad about Marleau? Like, ever?
Never. It's
like,
never happened.
Not even like, oh, this is a questionable hit. Or, oh, he let his emotions get the better of him and he slashed the guy. Nothing. Ever.
I don't even know what his voice sounds like. I don't even know what he sounds like. Because he's just even keel.
Yeah.
And in his 2 years in Toronto, he's had Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews like basically idolize him. Mm-hmm. Two of the best players in the league, by the way. Love him. Yeah.
But that's kind of like what he brings.
They take care of his kids.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
It's awesome. I don't ever want to hear anything bad said about Patrick Marleau ever.
It's interesting too, because it's like, going back to the point that he made, like, yeah, he's not, that productive of a player anymore. That's okay, first of all. And second of all, it's like, why aren't we like rooting for these older guys to break some of these records? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, do we just want Ovechkin to retire once he starts scoring like 10 goals a year? Like, no,
I want to see you break that freaking Gretzky record.
Exactly. Right. Like, no, I want you to play until you're 45 and break that record.
And I saw another tweet like comparing, Marleau has 8 points in 44 games. In his last season at age 50, Howe had 41 in 82.
Different eras, man.
Mm-hmm. And remember this conversation we had off air earlier today? I could score 40 points in the 80s. I could. Yeah. There were no goalies. They were just players with a little bit bigger pads. Yeah. And they couldn't raise the puck. Yeah. You just slid it along the ice, and it went in every time. It's not impressive to score in the 80s.